right, folks, spring is approaching, so I'm going to do a little video today here on, setting yourself up for a good yard in the spring and throughout the summer. So you can see mine, it is brown, bad. It's probably the brownest it's ever been. And it's been cold. It's crazy temps. Last week it was 60s and 70s, and then before that, it was high 40s and 30s and lows in the low teens, even down to 10. So it's a coming. It is cooling back down this week. Got about 3 inches of rain coming, but I haven't been up to much. As you can see, ain't much going on here. I trimmed the bushes, and I've trimmed my monkey grass, this is what I always do when I start getting geared up for doing the yard. I always trim my bushes and my monkey grass first, and I refresh my rocks. I use my dethatch rake on the front of my mower and run it through these rocks, and it decompacts them and makes it look like you got some fresh rocks there. When it rains, the rocks that it brings up from the dirt, it'll wash the dirt off of them. But that was the fescue. The KBG is a different story here. KBG is actually mowed it yesterday, which that was Sunday. Today is Monday the 10th. So I mowed that yesterday. It's amazing the difference in color between the KBG and the fescue. And none of this has had any fertilizer put on it. It's just is what it is. It's what it looks like through the winter, or that's what mine looks like. These spots that you're seeing right here, these are spots that I had to spot seed where they washed away. For some reason, they've turned a little yellowish, and you can see out in here, all these are spots that I spot seeded. There's plenty of grass on them. It's just, I don't know why. I guess because it's just younger. Still got a few spots it's gonna have to. Well, there's plenty of grass on there. It's probably where a rabbit's been eating. I've had some rabbits out here chewing on it. But I'm gonna take you over here, and I'll talk to you about getting started here since it's getting close. So stick around. I'll be right back at you. All right, so before we get started here completely, if you're coming in the spring like me, I'm in North Carolina. Some of you folks up north, you still got a while, but for us here, it normally starts mid-February to end of February is when we typically get going here. And what I normally do is, the first thing I normally do is I normally mow it down. I normally cut my yard around 3 inches. I'll knock it down to 2.5 inches to try to mow some of that brown off of it. And then what I typically do is, after I do that, not the same day. It doesn't have to be done the same day, but I do my pre-emergent. And what happens when you mow the grass, you're encouraging it to grow, so you're waking it up. But after you mow it, the main thing to set you up for success is a pre-emergent. We want to stop these crabgrass, goosegrass, broadleaf weeds. We want to stop those from coming up. A lot of people say pre-emergent stops weeds from germinating, and that's not true. The weeds and the crabgrass and stuff, they still germinate, but when that root hits that pre-emergent barrier, it fries it. So that's the way a pre-emergent works. It doesn't stop weeds from germinating. They do germinate. It just, when the root hits it, the pre-emergent barrier, it fries it, and then you don't see it. So I'll just cover these right here. I've done this in another video, but I'll go back over it again. Typically this is what you see right here as far as a pre-emergent for like crabgrass and stuff. I use Pro-diamine in the spring, and I'm gonna give you the rate that I use. So if you want to jot this down, get it wrote down. So I do split applications of pre-emergent. So I typically apply mine, when the soil temperature's around 50 degrees average for 5 days. You want to get it down just a little bit earlier than, 55 degrees. 55 degrees average soil temperature, that's when stuff starts to germinate, like crabgrass and stuff. I was at 52 yesterday average. Thought about applying it, but obviously this stuff's got to be watered in, so you're gonna have to time it around rain. But the problem is I've got about 3 inches of rain coming. And it's very early for me. Like I said, it's February 10th. So the soil temperature wasn't there. I could have applied it, been fine. 2 or 3 inches of rain, it's not gonna hurt it in your yard. My biggest thing is yesterday I was going to actually spray my beds with pre-emergent, and I used the dithiapyr in my beds. That's the same thing as Dimension. But with that much rain coming in my beds, and a lot of my beds are on a slope, I just didn't feel like that was going to be a smart decision, because dithiapyr is pretty expensive, and it could wash away off of those slopes. So I didn't do that. But back to the grass thing. As I mentioned, I use Pro-diamine in the spring for the yard. The rate I go out with is, the first app I do 0.38 ounces per 1,000 square feet. 0.38 ounces. Now this is the dry flowable, it's the WDG, so it's a wettable granular. And that's the rate I'm giving you for the Pro-diamine WDG. So the first app is 0.38 ounces per 1,000 square feet. I typically do my second app sometime in April, and that goes down at 0.45 ounces per 1,000 square feet. You're gonna have to have a scale, a kitchen scale, to weigh out the ounces of this stuff. So if you're using the WDG, you have to weigh it out, and then you add it to the water. If for some reason you're going out late beyond 55 degrees soil temperatures, my best advice for you on that is to run Dimension or dithiapyr, however you want to say it. But this does have some post-emergent crabgrass capability, so it will knock the crabgrass out. If you're late and you want to use this, you have to do the full rate of this to get the post-emergent control. That's 0.75 ounces per 1,000 square feet. Now, if for some reason you want to use dithiapyr instead of Pro-diamine for your pre-emergent, that's completely fine. I've done it before. I've had no issues. Personally, I actually like the dithiapyr better. It's just way more expensive than the Pro-diamine. Doesn't last quite as long. It degrades more with rain versus the Pro-Diamine degrades more, with soil temperatures and stuff. But if you do want to use the dithiapyr for your pre-emergent, again, if you're putting this out before the soil temperature hits 55 degrees average, do split applications. The application rate I run with this is 0.55 ounces per 1,000 square feet. 0.55 ounces per 1,000 square feet. That's for both apps. I hope I am not confusing you, but that's the rate of this for going out before soil temperatures reach 55 degrees. Again, if you want to use this after soil temperatures go past the 55 degree mark, when crabgrass starts germinating, and you possibly could see some later on in the year, if you want to do this, you need to go out with 0.75 ounces per 1,000 square feet to get the post-emergent capability. So hopefully that's not confusing you guys. I know a lot of folks that does YouTube, they don't give you two options to do. Most of them just do Pro-Diamine, but I might as well just be completely honest and clear with you. There's other options, and there's other options besides these also. We're gonna throw in this right here. I've mentioned this before. This is Gallery 75DF. This is a broadleaf pre-emergent. These two pre-emergents right here, this one does cover some broadleaf weeds. This one doesn't do but just a very few. It's mainly grassy weeds, but this is broadleaf weed only. There's no grassy weeds, no crabgrass, no goosegrass control. It's only broadleaf weeds. And obviously a pre-emergent has got to be applied before the stuff germinates. That's how it works. If it's germinated, it's already there. So, other than using this on the crabgrass that I mentioned. But you got to get your pre-emergent down before soil temperatures hit that magic mark. And early is better than late, by far. So this is, this is for the broadleaf weeds. I do split applications of this just like I do my Pro-Diamine or the dithiapyr, and I run this with either one of those, whichever one I choose to do. So the rate I go out with this is 0.38 ounces per 1,000 square feet. 0.38 ounces per 1,000 square feet, and I do that 2 apps. When I'll do it with my first app of Pro-Diamine, and then I'll do it with my second app of Pro-Diamine at that rate I just told you. This is a dry, flowable WDG also, just like the Pro-Diamine. WDG, so you have to weigh this out. And in ounces, and then you add it to water just like the Pro-Diamine. So that's this is the main thing right here to get started with. And I'll go over the next step. I do want to add this in here. Those rates that I was telling you for the pre-emergent, that's only for fescue. That is not for Kentucky bluegrass or ryegrass. You're gonna, unfortunately, I can't remember that off the top of my head. I'll have to look at the label for Kentucky bluegrass, but those rates are only for fescue that I gave you. If you've got Kentucky bluegrass or rye Kentucky bluegrass in your fescue, then I apologize. I just don't know the rates off the top of my head for Kentucky bluegrass or the ryegrass. So those rates again were only for fescue. So the next step is after your pre-emergent, and you can do this the same day if you want to as the pre-emergent, is fertilizer. Obviously, it's still cool, so you're going to have a fertilizer that's got some quick release in it to see any kind of response to it. You can use slow release. It's just you're not going to see any much response from it. And obviously when the starts warming up and the soil temperatures get up, the grass is naturally going to green up. But if you want a fast response, or some kind of response when you do a fertilizer, AMS, urea, nitrate, AMS or nitrate would probably be a better option when it's cool weather. Urea can work if you're not too awful cold, but that would be the next step. If you guys are doing granular fertilizer, I would recommend using Pete's GCI at 3000. I mean, that'll be fine for early applications. I have no issue with it. I'm actually going to use that on my Kentucky bluegrass. With this, the way I do it is I'll start off with a 1/10 of a pound every 2 weeks. And that's the way I do it basically all the way through the whole year. Just micro feeding it. 1/10 of a pound every 2 weeks once I start. So I'll do fertilizer when I do pre-emergent. As I mentioned, this is not quite time yet. It's supposed to be back down into the 20s. Possibly this week and then some next week. So, I got a little bit of time. It's amazing. You look right here close to the rocks, it's greener than it is out there. So the rocks hold heat more than out there further in the yard. So that's why it's a little greener around the edges. But I know you folks don't like looking at a brown yard in your own yard, but it is what it is. I mean, there's no use to get discouraged. It's just part of the game of doing this. Some folks' yards stay greener year round. Mine typically does not. I'm not sure. I've never been able to keep it good and green through the year, and it's probably because I'm low or lower on organic matter. I'm not low, but I don't have a lot of organic matter, and my soil is sandy based, so it doesn't hold any nutrients. And that's why my soil, or why my grass, goes brown. This right here, remember, this was the frozen part I showed you in another video, and you can see it. I mean, it is brown right here where the sun didn't hit it, and it was just a solid sheet of ice, and the grass was frozen. Look at the tips. The grass is still green underneath it. It's just the tips are just fried. But that is what it is. Just hang in there. It'll get better, I promise you. It will get better. If your yard's still green, congratulations. Mine isn't, and I'm not concerned about it one bit, because I've been there, done that for many, many years of doing this. Just, as a homeowner and on the golf course. Obviously on the golf course, with Bermuda fairways and tees and approaches and stuff, and the greens were bent grass, but the bent grass greens, they look about like the fescue. But for some reason, this Kentucky bluegrass, it's a different story. It's the first time I've ever messed with it, so I was shocked to see that. But anyway, I hope this video gets you started on the right path. As far as fertilizer rates, if you're using Pete's, the 3000, you put down a half a pound per 1,000 of that. If you're, just whatever you're using, half a pound, and then another half a pound. later on in the spring. I wouldn't do a straight fast release fertilizer at a 1/2 pound per 1,000 later on in the spring. If you want to do a slow release, that's fine. But when you get up doing fertilizer apps in April and you're throwing a 1/2 pound at a time of quick release fertilizer, you're going to risk getting into a lot of disease issues come May and June, because it's just growing so fast, and that's what, fungus thrives off of, that lush growth. But a quick release fertilizer this time of year is completely fine for your first app. So I hope this helps you. Gonna try to do some videos this year. Just being completely honest, I mean, if I don't get the views, I'm not gonna fool with it. So, but here's the first one. So I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.